Alright everybody, welcome to your 23rd AngularJS tutorial. I'm Mehul, and in this tutorial we'll be learning about something called services in AngularJS. Now so far what we have done is we have learned things like directives and how to create login apps, filters, etc. in AngularJS. Now services and factories, which we are going to learn in the next tutorial, are something which you should know while you are learning AngularJS, and they will allow you to have data in different controllers. If you have, like, let's say you have an array of employees you are getting from your server side languages, like you have any JSON file or any PHP file which generates a JSON response, and you want to display them inside your website with the help of AngularJS. So what you'll do is you will get that data from the server with HTTP AngularJS service, which we learned previously, and then you will manipulate it somehow and you'll display that. But what if you have like a lot of controllers? Then it would not be feasible to do an HTTP request in every of the controller. What you would like to do is you would like to have a single HTTP request done and then store it somewhere where what we call that as a service. So a service is pretty much like creating a function in vanilla.js and then using it anywhere, but when in AngularJS services are singleton. Now by that what I mean is that only one instance of a service is created and the reference is passed. Now this would seem a little bit complicated, but by the end of this tutorial I promise you guys that you will understand what I am trying to say here. Now let's start with services. So first of all, include your AngularJS file and your script, and once you are done with that, go to your script and let's start the coding. Alright, so first of all let's create our application. Is angular dot module, and let's create our controller first. Okay, let's create the service first because we'll need to include something in controller to make that work. So to create a service, first of all you have to write the name of your module on which you are going to create that service. So for instance, this is right now an application. So application dot service. Now this service would obviously won't be available to other modules if you have in your application. So you know, services are embedded in modules and you can have services going over from module to module. So application dot service, here you go. Here you would write the name of your AngularJS service. Let's create it on random numbers. Let's just create the name as random, and then as a function which would act as your service. Now what we are going to do here is we are going to make use of this keyword, because this keyword points to this service right here which we are working with. So this means random, and we are going to learn how we can avoid this with the help of factories in AngularJS, probably in the next one. So using this keyword, what we are going to do is, alright, so first of all let's just get a random number from math.random, and let's just make it a little pretty by flooring it down, and don't forget to multiply it by 10 so that you don't get 0 always. Now I'll make use of this dot generate as a function. Now this would be a function, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to return the num. Now this num variable which I have declared with var is the private property of this service, and I can't access it anywhere outside the service, but I can access properties or values associated with this with wherever I will include this service. So this is a thing you could note. So now let's just create our controller, application dot controller, and let's just pick out which one is our controller. Here you go, the app one, the app, and let's just create a function. Now here we'll need to pass a scope, as you know, but we'll need to pass another thing. Now since you are working with your own service and AngularJS is kinda, requires you to explicitly mention what you are going to use in your controller and what you're not going to use, then you have to pass the name of your service with the scope or any other dependency like HTTP right here. So I'll just include the name random of my service. If you don't do that, then you won't be able to include or use your service inside your controller. Now okay, over to HTML. Now let's just create a little application button, and let's just assign it ng-click of generate random, and I'll just create generate random number, and right here with a br we are just going to do, let's say, random number here. And here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell Angular that this function is actually gonna do pick up a random number from our service, and it's gonna assign it to the random number scope. So now how you can call a service is simply just include the name of the service and then its function or property or whatever it is. If it is function, then don't forget to use the two curly brackets to run that function, execute it. And if it is just like a property like this dot name is hello, then you can just exclude this. That's some obvious things. So alright, so our simple application is ready. Now let's just take a look at the browser. Alright, so we have got this button, generate random number, and when I click on it, you see we get 0 and 1 and 108. But if you remember from the first few minutes of this tutorial, I told you that the services in AngularJS are singleton, and now I'm gonna show you what does that mean. So I told you that services are singleton. Now this can be best proved by clicking on this button again. So you see when I click on this button, it doesn't generate any more random numbers. Now why is it this so? Now I'm gonna explain this in simple words here. So when the AngularJS ran and when I clicked on this button first time, what AngularJS did is it ran the service first time and it kinda just passed the reference of the service here, and this here is right here. So what happened is when this function was called the very first time, AngularJS ran the service and then passed a reference of the service and created a reference of the service obviously and passed it here. Now when I call this again, then instead of running this service again, that means instead of running this whole code again, AngularJS what it did is it passed the past service which it created, the previous one, to here again. So if you do like random number 2, let's say if we have two random numbers here, random number 2, then what would happen is, since AngularJS services are singleton, that means they would just create an instance, just one instance, and would just continuously pass the references of that when it is called. And what would happen is you will always get same two numbers, because a unique number is created the first time but not every time. So that's how AngularJS services works, and this is really gonna be a handy thing you could have if you have like you're getting some data from server and you want to display it on in different controllers, but you don't want to just copy and paste the whole code again and again. So this was all about services in AngularJS, and in the next tutorial we'll be looking at a similar thing called factories in AngularJS. And in the next tutorial after that, I guess I'm gonna show you a little differences between two, and we have something as providers as well in AngularJS, which I think I might cover in the next 3 or 4 tutorials. So that's all for this one, and I'll see you then next time. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.